Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where the orchard of wisdom shows are at your fingertips. It ignites your soul, your heart, your spirit, your mind, and your body with illumination from people who have made the journey before you. They're here now to help you on your journey, on your path of self-discovery. We are funded by you, the audience, and the people we interview. If you wish to support us, please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com and press on our Fund Action button. Anything is appreciated. We'd like you to sit back and enjoy the shows. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Their Story Matters, right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest is Kenny Chu. We're going to be talking a lot today about the inconvenient Asian minority. He says the inconvenient majority, the attack on the Asian American excellence, and the fight for meritocracy. From a journalistic on the front lines to the students of the fair admission at Harvard, some comes a probing examination of affirmative action, the false narrative of American mediocrity, and the attack on the Asian American excellence, with its far-reaching implications from seedy test prep centers to gleaming gifted and talented magnetic schools, to top colleges and elite businesses, media, and political positions across America. The Asian American minority, transcending its impoverished history, has quietly assumed mastery of the nation's technical and intellectual machinery and become essential to the workforce that makes modern life, American life, possible. Yet they are being forced to do in the face of policy proposals written in the name of diversity that serve to exclude them from the upper ranks of the elite. So Kenny has written this beautiful book, The Inconvenient Minority. We're going to be talking about that today. And it's, let's just say, racism is alive and well. And, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. There seems to be that if you're different, then therefore you're wrong. We've looked at, I'm here in Canada, so we have an enormous amount of Asian people here. And there's been a lot of attacks on them lately. And they're always considered the smarty pants. And it's just, the labeling has to stop, doesn't it? We have to look at people for being colorblind, as you put, a wonderful organization that you've got there. And we can respect people's culture, we can respect people's skin color, but we really need to look at people for what they contribute to, what they give to the world, and stop labeling them or categorizing them or reducing them to something, because we have a stigma about it. Welcome to the show, Kenny.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate being on.
It's a tough one because we are looking at the technology world as being kind of an Asian market because of the brilliance behind it. But there is still that inequality in everything else in life, in the workforce, or as you said, in the upper elite, being up in the higher positions as the CEOs, etc. Where have you found that pushback or that stigma yourself?
Well, I think you find it in the places that claim to be most tolerant and inclusive sometimes. Mm-hmm. The anti-Asian discrimination at Harvard comes from administrators who consider themselves progressive, enlightened thinkers. They consider themselves on the right side of history. And they very much want a student body that they think reflects their view of what is aesthetically pleasing about Harvard, which is they would want a student body that is 15% Black and 15% Hispanic and 15% Asian. And, that has a whole blend of colors and a quilt of multicolored people holding hands. But in order to do that, in order to make that quilt of multicolored diversity, they actually have to discriminate against highly qualified Asians, because whatever your thoughts about it, Asians are more academically excellent on average. They should be. They deserve to be put into these. They deserve to reap the fruits of their academic efforts. They study twice as many hours as the average American. It's not because they're innately more intelligent. It is just because of hard work. So they should be entitled to be able to go to the schools that they wish on the basis of merit. And so this is what this Harvard discrimination case that I cover in my book, An Inconvenient Minority, is all about. Okay.
I don't care who you are, where you come from, whether you're from a different planet. If you have the ability, that should be supported. If it should be on the merit, and there shouldn't be any form of stigma. And if a certain population has decided to work extremely hard to get where they're going, why are we discriminating them? Why are we not really applauding them? And I know it's all very nice that, 15% here, 15% there, and they're trying to kind of paint the rainbow colors of equality, but you can't keep out excellence where excellence is due. And when we see an awful lot of people, Harvard might be a little different, but going into colleges just because they just want to have a college degree or they really want to party, they're not really kind of into the learning. And you've got other people who really take it seriously and look upon it as that career opportunity. They really want to learn, they really want to apply. And we should be applauding the student that gives it all, no matter who they are, not discriminate from that. And, I would love to see politics to be out of education altogether, because the moment politics comes into something, it screws it up completely. How have you found that discrimination towards yourself?
I think, me and my friends, I'm Asian American, my friends, when we were applying for top colleges and everything like that, we were always advised to not include our race.
Really?
We were, our college counselors, and college counselors still do that, by the way. They still advise Asian Americans not to include your race. Now, if you were Black, they would advise you absolutely put that you're Black, put that you're Latino. So, just think about like how the effects of that on a person's self-identity. Now people are even instructing you to not put down the thing that you can't change about yourself, right, that you should be able to feel proud of.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends and I, who are high achieving students, did not feel proud of the fact that we were Asian. So it was very sad, the way that works, but it has some serious consequences.
This used to be the discrimination against Black people, right? And now it's now towards the Asian people. When are we going to get over the fact that we are all different? Like Forrest Gump says, we're like a box of chocolates. Each chocolate is different. But together we make that box delicious. And when are we going to stop discriminating instead of applauding and encouraging? And as I said, anytime politics comes into anything, it just completely disrupts it and takes away any of the meaning. And you have every right to say, this is who I am. This is the beautiful vessel that I'm in. This is my culture. It shouldn't have anything to do with my contribution, my abilities, my brain power. And to hide your identity, on the application, they're going to know it's you when you get there. So now what? They're going to say, oh, no, you're Asian, you have to go? Or we're going to put you in a different category? Does it become a shock to somebody all of a sudden that you're Asian and not something else?
Oh, well, look, you were advised to not put down the fact that you're Asian, but what I know from my journalism with an inconvenient minority is that it doesn't really matter. Harvard still knows that you're Asian. Doesn't matter if you put it down or not. They can take one look at your name. If they don't, they can take a look at all of their various data mining services that they have to know exactly who you are. So you can't hide from it, which is the worst part about it. Doesn't matter what you do, they are going to treat you differently because you're Asian. And it doesn't help you. So it's a bad thing. It really is a bad thing about society, about especially the way elite society views these people, because now they're viewing these people not as individuals who have talents and aptitudes, but they're viewing these people as little bricks in a racial cog machine that they need to fit in an acceptable way.
Now, for a long time, it was if you were a person of color, if you were black, you were considered, too dumb to go to school or be educated, and that nobody could ever aspire to that because the intelligence wasn't there, which again was a lovely whitewash that was going over. And now the attack is on the Asians. Do you think they fear the intelligence? Do they feel you're going to take over? I mean, what really is the issue? You would think that for their school's position, having people of such intelligence there, achieving so much would be a good reputation for the school. What really is the fear?
Yes, and yes, they do fear Asian intelligence. They fear the fact that if their school becomes 43% Asian, which is what Harvard would be if they didn't discriminate against Asian Americans, if they fear the fact that if the school becomes 43% Asian, that people are not going to think that that's sexy, or people are going to think that that's aesthetically unpleasing. The fact that Asians could be viewed in such a way is horrible, but that's how they view it. That's how a lot of the alumni view it. That's how a lot of the progressive administrators view it. And then the other thing that you mentioned is also absolutely correct, which is they are afraid of what it would say about America if they truly treated people on the basis of merit. Because if they truly treated people on the basis of academic merit, what you will see is that there are differences at the top, racial differences at the top. And it has nothing to do with race, but it's just the fact that certain cultures have chosen to study harder, to study more, and they should be rewarded for it, but they're not.
How much of the pandemic has come into this equation? Because right now, obviously anybody Asian is the enemy because you brought COVID around, which, don't get me going on that. Here the attacks on the Asian people have been because of that go back to China, or many, many people here are second, third generation. That ignorance and that rhetoric that's being constantly put out, do you feel that that has any equation to do? We don't want to be seen having too many Asians because people are against Asian people right now.
Yeah, the people who are attacking Asian Americans on the streets are different from the people who are attacking Asian Americans in admissions, or in hiring or promotion. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, some Asians have been called kung flu or something like that. But there is look, there's racism from every race against every other race.
Yeah.
There's Asians racist against blacks. There's blacks racist against Asians. There's whites racist against both. There's blacks racist against whites. So, I mean, there's definitely racism still exists. But the crazy part of the Harvard case, which is an inconvenient minority, is that this is racism that is perpetuated by people who consider themselves enlightened people,
right?
People who consider themselves intellectually superior people, and yet they're engaging in this same rank racism that they're supposed to be condemning.
America is the country of immigrants, same as Canada, and New Zealand and Australia and South Africa. Immigrants made the countries, and it was always, come one, come all, build this country. But it seems to have been, oh no, this is a white country. We want to keep that as the majority, and we want to make sure that no other particular race has any form of supremacy anywhere along the line. Do you think that is actually kind of a valid, well, not a valid fear, it's never a valid fear, but a fear that is being perpetuated, of a fear of any one particular race kind of taking over, wanting to keep it more white?
No, I think that we've largely moved past that.
I won't say largely, maybe mediocrely.
No, I would say largely. I think the majority of Americans truly are colorblind people. They really only just care about whether you are a good person, whether you're loving, you're caring, you're kind. I think 96% of Americans, according to Washington Post poll, said that they would be fine if they lived next to a neighbor of a different race. 91% of Americans said that they would be fine if their daughter married somebody of a different race. I think the majority of Americans are actually quite tolerant and loving people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm willing to defend that.
So what we're seeing is the propaganda. We're seeing the minority screaming out loud, and they're the ones that are getting the airtime. Rather than,
Yeah, we're seeing an ideological minority who has an ideological goal gain power over elite institutions and use that to push a certain narrative that does not represent reality.
So again, I go back to, I don't understand why in a school that really wants to have a great record of excellence, why they are suppressing the excellence from being there. What really is the common denominator fear here if there is 43% Asian people that are studying there and they're reaching the top? What really is the fear?
What really is the fear? I think I've explained it to you pretty well.
Well, they want
what do you
everybody
think?
cookie cutter, and let everybody have equal chance.
They fear, they fear that if Asians overrun the population, that it would look bad. It would look bad.
But
that's what they fear.
Whom does it look bad to?
To them, to their friends, to their donor class, that Asians aren't sexy, that they would be worried that people would look at this Harvard body and they would say, well, you guys are just importing, kids who are test-taking robots with no personality. It's an aesthetic fear. It's an aesthetic fear.
But where does it stem from?
Like, what do you mean, where does it stem from?
For people to have that kind of fear and for it to be so dictatorial that, has caused you actually to bring a case against Harvard, this fear had to start somewhere.
I don't know. I mean, human nature. Humans are tribal. We're tribal species. I mean, this is human nature. I mean, this is not the first time that people have been afraid of foreigners or foreign-looking people coming into their ape kingdom. This has happened throughout history. Doesn't even matter sometimes if you're the same color as the other person. You're a foreigner and you're in a Zulu tribe in South Africa and there's another tribe, 10 miles down the street who comes into your camp, you're going to be suspicious of them. So I think that's what's happening. It's human nature.
Yeah, well, human nature needs to change, doesn't it? Which I think actually on a global scale, human nature does need to change. We're working very much on an old program of I've got to protect my tribe. These people are coming to get everything I've got. And, it's a kind of systemic ancestral type fear that's inbred in every single one of us. And at some point we have to look at reasoning and we have to look at, we need excellence in the world. We know that technology is taking, it is taking over, but we have to always make sure that technology is in harmony with humanity. But what we look at what we are needing in the world to change the world, our environment, climate change, the way we conduct business, the innovations that we're needing to survive, the next 100 years, we need that intelligence. We need people who are creative. We need people who are willing to put the work and the time in. And, the scientific world seems to understand this, but it's kind of the cutting their nose off to spite their face.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely. What my book, An Inconvenient Minority, is really trying to say, it's about competence, right? It's about, we need to return to a society that values competence.
Yeah.
We're descending into a society that values so many other things that are irrelevant from the standpoint of competence. Your race, your religion, your sexuality, your national origin, those kinds of things. And, there are legitimate fears about national origin, for example, but most of them are illegitimate. And I think that, we need to move past that. We need to evaluate a person on the basis of what they can contribute,
right,
not on the basis of their background.
Right. As I said, we are needing the excellence out there in the world right now. The other thing that gets in the way is the economic structure, of scholarships. Are these scholarships going to the Asian minority, or are they being blocked from them because they're trying to keep the numbers down?
Yeah, Asians are definitely being blocked from accessing scholarships right now. I think the new trend among American universities is to give scholarships specifically to BIPOC people, BIPOC, Black Indigenous people of color. Notice what is excluded from BIPOC. Asians.
Yeah.
Asians are excluded from BIPOC, and the reason why is because these people think that Asians are a privileged race because
Right.
we're too
Oh, you're all-
successful in America.
Yeah,
But
you're
the
all
reason why we're
rich.
successful in America is not because we're privileged. And in fact, our parents came here with no money, no connections, no generational wealth. But it's because they worked really hard and they taught people like me to work really hard. And so it's not privilege at all. It's hard work.
Yeah.
These BIPOC scholarships are given out only to people of certain races. They're not giving out to Asian Americans. So yeah, Asians are being excluded from these scholarships that they deserve.
Yeah. Where's the equality in that, right? You know, they're trying to have this facade that we are making sure that we represent everyone, but don't look at the fact that we're not representing them. And
Right.
you know, you can't preach equality. You can't preach that you're there for everybody. You know, just bring your excellence. We're there for you, and then openly and brazenly exclude a certain demographic. You just can't do that. I get away with it, you know, and the thing is why are they getting away with it? And it takes people like yourself to stand up and go, no, you know, I have the right to be there.
Right.
And, you know, it shouldn't be the numbers quotation on which race you are or how many people are allowed to be there, or denying somebody who's absolutely brilliant. It could be the next cure for this or that. And they're denied the scholarship purely based on their race. It used to be, obviously, you know, Black people were excluded. And now it's like, oh no, politically incorrect to do that. So now, well, let's go after the Asians. Nobody's going to notice that. And yeah, it's being noticed,
right.
and it
Guess
has
what?
to
It's
change.
noticed.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And until somebody raises the voice, until people raise voices and awareness, things don't change. So this has forced you to be that change, to bring about that discrimination, right? And that inequality, and that although commendable that you are including all the other demographics, but you can't exclude one race, you know, and I hope that nobody notices.
Right. Unfortunately, in Harvard's system, if you want to include members of another race, you have to exclude another race because it's a zero-sum game. So this is why, you know, I don't think you should have race in admissions. I don't think you should use race.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it should go on merit. You know,
Yes.
are your scores there? Right?
Or are you competent? Have you shown competence? It doesn't have to be just your scores,
right?
But you know, your teacher recommendations, your extracurricular recommendations, everything like that. The quality of your personal essay. You shouldn't get bonus points for irrelevant things.
Right. And the whole thing about Asian people are droll or dry and don't have a personality. I was married for 21 years to an Asian gentleman who was extremely gregarious, very, very forthcoming, and so were all the family. You know, he had one brother who was a doctor who was very serious, and no, he didn't have a sense of humor, but everybody else did. And it's like, again, what are you saying? You know, that just because they're Asian, it's all about work and seriousness, and they don't have a personality, and they're not capable of running a company or being successful because they don't have that personality persona for it. Who came up with that one?
Yeah. Probably it was used as a way. I mean, you know, people have said in the past to people working at Amazon or Intel, for example, that some Asian Americans don't have the leadership characteristics to manage this company or something, or be in an executive role. Some Asians have confided to me their anxieties about that. Now, it doesn't mean that those anxieties are true. It could also just mean they're a bad worker, or maybe they are a bad leader. But one thing's for sure, you know, when you get up to the top level of executive hierarchies and people are jostling for those small number of positions, people are going to use everything that they can find against you.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. It is a game at the top. It's a Scrabble, and it's a scramble, excuse me. And if people are able to play on stereotypes about you, then that's what they can do. And that's, by the way, what Harvard admissions officers do. They play off of stereotypes about Asians. They actually rate Asians lowest in the personality score.
Really?
They rate people in three things: academics, extracurriculars, and personality. And Asians get rated lowest on personality, even though Asians actually score highest on teacher recommendations, and they score highest on counselor recommendations. They also score highest on alumni interviews. So there's no objective basis for having a low personality, but they do it anyway because they understand that they can get away with it.
Right.
Well, no more. You can't get away with it anymore.
Yeah, they've made it their excuse, a valid excuses in their books, and that's just a cover up for kind of just blocking that entry. You look at Japan, you look at China, world leaders there that, in many, many areas. And it's like, if they didn't have the personality, you think this was all just robotic? If they didn't have the personality, they wouldn't be running those companies internationally. They wouldn't be at the top of their game. It's, I don't know where the stereotyping has come from. And maybe the main fear, I think, could be that people are scared that Asia is going to take over America. That is something I've heard in the past. And you are Asian by birth, but you are an American, right? So if you reach top excellence and
I wasn't Asian by birth.
No?
I was born in America.
So you're American Asian?
Yes.
Okay. So as an American Asian, you are here to represent your country, right?
Yeah, which is America.
Which is America. And the more excellence that you achieve, the more it benefits the country.
Yes, that's the idea.
Right. So
I think that's why people want excellent people in this country. Presumably, It helps their country.
Exactly. I mean, look at Elon Musk and all that he's achieved. He was an immigrant. Look at what he has done and achieved, because he had innovation, he had due diligence, he went for it. He did have the charisma, he knew where to put the money. Where other than a certain party, which we won't mention, condemning him, we're all benefiting from it. So why can't we not look at how you, in what you're doing, and how you're going to contribute to society, how people are going to benefit from it, and look at supporting that instead of blocking just because of the sheer numbers of fear or suppression?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we should be looking fundamentally at the content of your character, not the color of your skin. A certain gentleman said that. I forget who. Actually, I haven't. It's Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King Jr. And what he articulated there was a vision for American society that we need to become. And it is policies like Harvard that is standing in the way. It really is standing in the way. We have made a lot of progress as a country, as America. Yes. I know there's still racism. I know there is, but this is not 1964 anymore.
But they would like it to be. But
they would still like policies to be made as if it was 1964. Exactly. And that's what we need to stand against.
Yeah. Life is fluidity. Energy is constantly moving. We need to go with the flow, which means moving forward, not moving backwards. We learn from the past. We learn from, in the development of anything, there is the first stage, the beta. You learn from it, and you're always looking to improve upon it and expand its possibilities as to where it can go. The moment you start suppressing that, holding back and limiting it, you are stifling that creativity, and you're stifling something that could be something that really truly is a solution in the world. This type of behavior needs to stop on all levels, Harvard level, any other level. You have this wonderful site called, is it Colorless World?
It's called colorusunited.org. Yeah. And it's my organization. Go ahead.
And you're American, but you're Asian. I'm white British. Other people are their own color. That is their culture. That is their skin color. But ultimately, we are all heart, soul, spirit, and intellect. And if we could actually pay attention to who the people are as a character, who they are as a person, what they're contributing, what their beautiful expertise or their gift is in life, and stop worrying so much about the package that we come in, we would actually really be leaps and bounds ahead. I think as a humanity, we have the capability of really doing some leaps and bounds with technology serving humanity, improving our whole ecological, improving many, many aspects of life. If we just didn't hold back, and again, let politics, let racism, let fear come in, and it has to be looked at as this is no more. We're not going back to 64 or 54. We're not going backwards anymore. However much you protest or however much you put laws into place, it's not going to happen because the people are just too bright, too united, and just not going to stand for it anymore. You can't push them around anymore. So there's a huge pushback right now, isn't there, on that this is just not tolerant.
Big pushback right now, big pushback. In America especially, there was a law in California that was about racial preferences. They wanted to include race in your ability to consider a person for employment, include race in considering people for public contracting and promotions. It was a proposition that was given to California voters, and California voters of every race struck down that proposition, 55% to 45%, including majorities of Asians, Latinos, Black, and not Blacks, but majorities of Asians, Latinos, and whites struck that down. That because they know that they don't want favorable treatment on the basis of their race. They want to be treated on the basis of their merit,
right?
Even if it favors them.
Yeah.
They don't care. We don't live in that kind of country anymore. We need to move past it.
Yes, yes. When you have minds coming together and each one listening to each other, we truly and utterly can see how creation and possibilities are created. But the moment we start segregating people or assuming, what you're going to get from them, or will you see the color first, or you see their economics first, or you just see this and that first, we are denying all of those that beautiful intellect to come together. And Harvard and any other school, please, and this goes really from kindergarten up, if you see a kid excelling, be behind them. They're going to be an inspiration for someone else. Other people are going to see what they're achieving, and other kids are going to go, well, I can do it, they can do it. I've just got to be more due diligent, and stop punishing the kids for seeking that excellence, for seeking that education, who are wanting more in life. We've kind of got to a point, and which is something that's really become kind of rather pandemic, is keeping the majority of the people dumbed down, right? They want people dumbed down because they keep them more in fear, they have more control. And the moment people step up into more of their own personal excellence and seeking more in life and becoming more in life, the status quo loses control. So there is a hell of a lot of push to keep people dumb and in fear, rather than embracing the excellence, because they'll lose the control.
Yeah, I'm absolutely for increasing opportunity for underprivileged people.
Yeah.
But what I'm not for is diminishing the opportunities of excellent people, or people who have already committed to excellence, in
Yes.
order to create those so-called opportunities.
Yeah.
That's what I'm not for. Certain cultures prioritize certain things, right? I mean, you're not going to look at, like, German Americans, for example, tend to excel in engineering,
Mm-hmm.
So what are you going to say? You're going to say, because you guys are too good at engineering, we don't want more engineers who are German, No, we need more engineers in this country.
Yes.
We need more people who are good at building bridges and building roads.
Mm-hmm.
And Chinese Americans are very skilled at the maths and sciences.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you going to say? No, we don't want more mathematicians. We don't want more of the excellent scientists just because you're Chinese. So,
but there's a pushback against the educational elite. There's a huge pushback from certainly the last party against anybody who's highly educated. And this is what we saw in Nazi Germany way back. Anybody with an elite brain was considered the enemy. And this is another reflection that we're seeing right now, is that have a high intellect, you're an elitist. And so therefore you have become the enemy. And that's part of that dumbing down program. They're actually turning on people who are highly educated and kind of clipping their wings. I've had a couple of teachers and professors on, and they're saying their wings have been cut on being able to teach certain things because of the political correctness. And it's stifling, being actually able to educate people and get them interested in education, because they keep having things cut down of what they can actually teach. So there is a whole dumbing down program out there. And instead of, excelling and encouraging people to want to have a good education, and economics and race should never, ever, ever come into it. If somebody's got the aptitude, then we should be behind them, no matter where they're from, or based on the merit. And again, that's where the scholarship should go to. It doesn't matter what race you are. It's like, what are your abilities? Let's get behind them.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell us about your Colorist United. And you've got a great mission here, Colorist United, advocating for the race-blind America. And you've got all sorts of people here and all sorts of things that you have here. So just tell us a little bit about it.
We're Colorist United. We're fighting for a race-blind America. That means we want an America where race is just taken out of the equation. People should be allowed to have the friends that they want.
Yes.
They should be allowed to pursue the dreams that they want without being worried about how their race is going to affect them in the future, And the progress that we've made towards society has been good in our country, but there are forces right now that are trying to once again segregate us on the basis of race. Once again, trying to make our identity the fact that we're Black or Asian or Latino or something like that, and use that identity to collectivize us and to push policies that they claim are for that collective's benefit, but really hamstring them. So, we advocate on behalf of the employees, on behalf of the workers, on behalf of the teachers and the students who don't want race to be used for or against them. And that's what we do against corporations right now who are trying to push divisive racial trainings, divisive racial policies like American Express. The Salvation Army is another campaign that we just recently finished up. We can together, I think we can restore a race-blind America. So that's where I would encourage your listeners to go, coloristunited.org, and sign up for us.
Yeah, I highly encourage people to do that. You're standing up for the rights of. Your whole organization is standing up for the rights of. Instead of sitting back and going, yeah, I agree, it's all wrong. As we point a finger and saying it's wrong, there's three pointing back as they say, but what are we going to do about it? And in the signing of petitions or just reaching out, how can I educate other people? Having conversations with neighbors, talking about it, bringing it into the equation. More and more, it starts gathering momentum, and more the light is shed on it. We can't sit back complacently and say, well, that's sad, but it doesn't have anything to do with me, because all that is wrong is everything to do with us. And it's up to us to put it right. And we know it's not going to come from the political parties, because there's too much infighting and protection and elitism there. It's going to come from everyday Joes and Jills out there who see that this is wrong and it needs to be put right, and together we can do it. So you've created a wonderful platform that stands up for that, united. And it is that united front that we want. In 2022, we should not still be talking about race as being racist or denying people based on race, holding people back against race, hating people because they're a different skin color, they're a different religion, they're a different sexual orientation. It is time to get over that. It's time to grow up. There's so many more important things out there, and we're not going to grow up unless people push back and say no more.
Exactly. We need to empower the ordinary American, the ordinary person, to speak out, to be recognized as an individual.
Yes.
That's what we need to do.
Yes.
And that's fundamentally what we're fighting for. Because you're right, the political parties aren't going to do it for us.
Oh, God, no. No, they're so busy protecting their own. They forget they're civil servants. They're meant to be. But we've already,
right. This is why we're in the process of organizing thousands, if not tens of thousands, of American Express employees to fight back against American Express's racially divisive trainings. We already did the same thing. We had 17,000 Salvation Army donors sign a petition saying, Salvation Army, stop asking members to go to these inner city communities saying, talking about how society is purely racist against them and everything like that. That's not an empowering message to these inner city kids. It's not an empowering message. It's not going to get them back on their feet. It's not going to help them with the problems of drugs in their household. It's not going to help them problems of crime or education or housing or anything like that.
No, they're just going to feel like there's no hope.
They're just going to feel like there's no hope.
Well, that is part of the dumbing down, part of the keeping people in fear. And we have to push back about that. Intelligence comes in all ways. There's a great deal of intuitive intelligence, academic intelligence, and all intelligence is important in the equation. But if we don't put our heart and soul into something, and stand up for that equality and stand up for our progress, our creative progress. That's what we should be focusing on. This is what we should be putting our money behind. This is where we should be putting our effort behind. We know there's so much that we need to do on this planet before it gets destroyed. We know there's so much that as human beings that we've only scratched the surface of our abilities. And along with technology, we really can grow humanely into a total different level of intellect and abilities if we encourage, allow, and support those that want to pursue it.
Yes, definitely. It all starts from encouragement. It all starts from encouraging and respecting cultures of excellence, right?
Yes.
The culture of excellence got there for a reason, right? Maybe instead of trying to denigrate that excellence, maybe you should think about maybe adopting some of the behaviors of the people who have had, excellence in whatever domain that they're in.
Let's look at the Olympics right now. You have got certain cultures in the Olympics that these kids have been taught from very young, the money and the encouragement has been behind them, and they want that excellence. They're giving their all completely, right? And you will see it's reflected in the medals. And then you can see the others where the heart, soul, and the effort is in it, but the countries haven't put the money or the encouragement behind it. And just that little bit more encouragement, that more money, that more push, you would see them be up there on the podium equally. So don't blame the countries that support the excellence. Rise up to be one of those countries that supports excellence and supports those that may start right from the very seed or don't know the excellence is in them. So, right from the parent and the educator, don't judge a kid by the book by its cover. Don't even judge a kid if they're having difficulty in learning a certain way. Find out the best way they do learn and encourage that, because these are the people that history has shown to be the innovators that literally change everything in life. So it's get behind them and be encouraging. Don't dumb them down. Don't dismiss them. Don't hold them back.
Exactly. I agree fully.
So you've got this wonderful site right now, which is Color United, which I do encourage
Color Us United.
Oh, sorry, Color Us. I haven't got my glasses on. And that's .org, folks, .org, not .com. And you can be very much a part of this. I don't care who you are or where you're from, even if it's just a question of signing or just understanding what's going on and having conversations, being a part of it, being aware. Please do not say, oh, this is not my problem and turn the cheek, because it's everyone's problem in how to amplify the voice and start turning the tide, because until we push back, nothing ever changes. But you also have another site, your personal site here, which I'm opening up right now, which is the inconvenientminority.com, and that's based around the book, right?
Absolutely, inconvenientminority.com. And if you want to buy my book, you can go to inconvenientminority.com or Amazon. Barnes and Noble. It's actually a bestseller on Amazon. So go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Indie Bound. Give the author a few extra bucks. Go on Indie Bound, buy it there.
Right.
But I really appreciate the level of support that my book has gotten, not just from the Asian American community, but from all people who care about fighting for excellence, regardless of race or skin color.
Because most people don't know it's going on. Most people think we seem to take a step forward and 20 steps back. And, it's, we can chatter our way there, but we want to be moving forward. And, those powers that want to hold us back are for their own reasons, are for their own security. They know that maybe their sons and daughters aren't going to stand a chance to get up there, but why don't you encourage them more? Why don't you, instead of, buying them this and that, encourage them to earn this and that and see the value of certain things in life and the value of an education and where it can take them? There's a lot that needs to change, and it really can start right at from when your children are young. Of a certain discipline. There's plenty of time to play, plenty of time to pursue this and that, but this is the time for education, and be dedicated towards it and encourage them, show them the rewards they can get. If at the present moment a young Asian child is looking up and Harvard will never take me, I mean, how discouraging is that?
Yeah.
You want to know all doors are open for them. Nothing is closed. So thank you for doing the work that you're doing, the book and the Colorist United, and bringing this awareness and holding Harvard accountable. Whether it's going to change immediately, I don't know, but the more pressure they keep having, and that's how things happen. How did all the other minorities suddenly, start getting a higher percentage? It's because the pressure was on them. Let's keep putting the pressure on them here too.
Thank you.
So folks, remember that no matter what the person ethnicity is, it shouldn't be discriminated against. We should look at the people's participation, their enthusiasm, their due diligence, their effort, their own beautiful brilliance, and encourage that. For Lord knows the world needs it. So let's not hold people back based on their race or economics, because I know there's so many people that economically, if we got behind them, would reach that excellence as well. So I don't want to see money getting in the way either. And we should get behind these people and really actually embrace all that they can bring to us, because we do need it in the world, and we should always reward people who wish to achieve. That should be encouraged, not discouraged. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. Please tune in to our selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows, and you will see all the other genres that we have from you. Every week on Tuesday, we bring you new shows from illuminating people. If you know someone that should be interviewed, please contact us at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com. Now stay tuned for your next show.